They didn't want you to see this. WWE thought they could bury this story. They thought they could keep the cameras away, lock the locker room down, and pretend like nothing happened backstage at that arena. But the word got out. The footage leaked. The witnesses talked. And now you're going to hear every single detail of what Seth Rollins and Oba Femi did to Gunther and why the WWE Universe is absolutely furious about it. Stay right here. Do not click away. Because by the end of this video, you're going to be asking yourself one very serious question: is Gunther's career actually over? Let's get into it. The backstage moment that changed everything. It started the way most things in WWE do, with tension that had been building for weeks, simmering underneath the surface, invisible to the cameras but felt by everyone in that locker room. Gunther, the ring general, the man who has made it his personal mission to remind every single person on that roster that he is on a different level, had been walking those hallways with the kind of arrogance that makes your blood boil just thinking about it. You know, the walk, head up, chest out. That cold, dead stare that says, "I don't respect a single person in this building." That's who Gunther is. That's who he's always been. And for a long time, people let him get away with it because, frankly, what are you going to do? The man is a physical monster. He hits like a freight train. He chops like he's trying to split a tree. Nobody wanted that smoke. Nobody except Seth Rollins. And nobody except Oba Femi. Here's what happened. According to multiple sources who were backstage that night, Gunther had been mouthing off for hours. There are reports, and we're talking from people who were there, that Gunther had made comments about certain people on the roster not deserving to be on the same show as him. He reportedly singled out talent by name. He dismissed people's contributions. He was, in the words of one backstage source, acting like he owned the entire company. Now, Seth Rollins has tolerated a lot in his career. He's been betrayed. He's been beaten down. He's been thrown through tables, launched off ladders, had his knee destroyed, and came back every single time. Seth Rollins has seen everything in WWE. And the one thing that Seth Rollins has never, ever been able to tolerate is someone who disrespects the people in that locker room. Because that locker room, to Seth, that's sacred ground. The confrontation. The moment happened in a corridor near the production area. Gunther was walking with a couple of associates when Seth Rollins stepped directly into his path. Not to the side. Not casually. Dead center. A full block. And Seth didn't say much at first. That's what makes it terrifying. Because when Seth Rollins gets quiet, that's when you should be most afraid. The visionary doesn't run his mouth when he's about to do something. He just does it. Words were exchanged. By all accounts, Gunther did not back down because of course he didn't. That's not who Gunther is. Gunther doubled down. He reportedly told Seth that he was a circus act who had been lucky his entire career. He said that everything Seth had accomplished was built on spectacle, not substance. He told Seth, to his face, that he would never be in Gunther's league. Now, let's pause right there. Because you tell me who on this planet thinks it is a good idea to say that to Seth Rollins? In a hallway? Alone? Without a match, without a referee, without cameras rolling for a scripted segment? That is not just arrogance. That is a death wish. But here's the part that nobody is talking about enough. Seth wasn't alone. Oba Femi enters the picture. Oba Femi had been watching from roughly 20 feet away. And if you don't know who Oba Femi is, let me paint you a picture really fast, because this is important context. Oba Femi is 6'4". He is built like something that was engineered in a laboratory to end human beings. He moves with this terrifying calm, like a predator that doesn't need to rush because it already knows the outcome. He is one of the most physically imposing humans to ever walk into a WWE building, and on this night, he was in no mood. There had been tension between Oba Femi and Gunther previously. Gunther had reportedly dismissed Oba publicly in a way that didn't sit right. Gunther had implied, and this is allegedly something he said in a meeting, that Oba Femi was still unproven and shouldn't be in conversations about the top of the card. That Oba hadn't earned anything yet. You say that about a man who looks like Oba Femi? About a man with that kind of drive, that kind of hunger, that kind of chip on his shoulder the size of a continent? Oba heard those words. And on this night, Oba was 20 feet away when Seth Rollins stepped into Gunther's path. When things escalated, and they escalated fast, Oba didn't hesitate. He crossed that corridor in what witnesses described as almost no time at all, and suddenly it wasn't a conversation anymore. It wasn't a backstage argument. It was a 2-on-1 situation that Gunther, for all his toughness, for all his championship pedigree, for all his European arrogance, was completely unprepared for. What they did to him. I want to be careful here because this is where the story gets genuinely dark. What Rollins and Oba Femi allegedly did to Gunther in that corridor was not a scripted beatdown. This was not a planned attack for television. This was real, raw, ugly. Gunther was put down hard. We're talking about a man who has prided himself on never showing weakness, never selling pain, never letting anyone see him flinch on his back, in a backstage hallway, unable to get up. The word paralyzed started circulating almost immediately among the crew members who witnessed it or heard about it in the moments after. Now, let me be clear about what that means in context. We're not necessarily talking about permanent paralysis in a medical sense. What witnesses described was Gunther being unable to move, unable to stand, completely taken out. Whether that was due to a specific strike, a hold, a fall, the details are still murky because WWE has been remarkably tight-lipped about the specifics. But here's what we do know. Gunther did not appear as scheduled later that night. His segment was pulled. Staff were seen moving quickly through the backstage area with urgency. Multiple talent were kept away from a specific section of the building. And the people who were there? They have been describing what they saw with genuine shock, and these are people who have been in professional wrestling for years. People who have seen a lot. And they were shaken. Seth Rollins was seen leaving the arena shortly after. No comment. No confrontation with officials. Just gone. Oba Femi? Same thing. Vanished into the night like he was never there. WWE's response or lack thereof. This is where I need you to pay very close attention, because this is the part of the story that should make you the most angry. WWE's response to this incident has been, in a word, pathetic. There has been no official statement. There has been no acknowledgement on television. Gunther's absence has not been explained. The announcers have not addressed it. Social media from official WWE accounts has gone conspicuously quiet on anything Gunther related since this happened. Now you might say maybe they're waiting for more information. Maybe they're being responsible. Maybe they need time to investigate. Fine. Except here's the problem. WWE has gone on record publicly, on television, to address far less significant backstage incidents in the past. When there are angles they want to push, when there are stories they want to tell, the cameras suddenly find their way backstage at exactly the right moment. The right people are always there. The right words are always said. But when something happens that they don't control, when two of their performers take matters into their own hands in a way that wasn't scripted, wasn't sanctioned, wasn't part of the show, suddenly, the company that has cameras everywhere goes blind. They are protecting someone. The question is who? Are they protecting Seth Rollins because Seth is still one of the biggest stars on the roster and they don't want this to blow up into a suspension or a release situation? Are they protecting Oba Femi because they have massive plans for him and they cannot afford for those plans to be derailed right now? Or, and this is the theory that I've been sitting with since this story first broke, are they actually protecting Gunther? Because if the full story of what Gunther said, what Gunther did, what Gunther's behavior was in the hours leading up to that confrontation gets out fully and publicly, it changes the entire narrative around him. The ring general. The dignified champion. The proud European warrior. What happens to that image if it comes out that he was the one who started this? That he provoked two men past their breaking point? That the paralyzed outcome was, in some dark and uncomfortable way, a consequence of his own choices? That is a story WWE does not want told. What this means going forward. Let's talk about the future, because this is not over. Not even close. If Gunther has genuinely been sidelined, if this injury, this incident, this whatever you want to call it, has actually removed him from the picture for any significant amount of time, the ripple effects on the WWE landscape are enormous. Gunther has been one of the most dominant forces on the main roster for years. His presence in any title picture immediately elevates the stakes. His absence creates a vacuum. And Seth Rollins knows that. Oba Femi knows that. Was this calculated? Was there a plan here beyond just anger and retaliation? Because Seth Rollins is a lot of things, but he is not stupid. The visionary doesn't do anything without thinking 3 moves ahead. If Seth Rollins chose this night, this corridor, this moment to finally snap, was it really just emotion? Or was it strategy wearing the mask of rage? And Oba Femi, this could either be the moment that defines his main roster ascension, or the moment that gets him buried before he ever truly gets to the top. Everything depends on how WWE handles this. Everything depends on whether there are consequences. So far, there have been none. And that is what should be keeping you up at night. The verdict. Here's where I land on this. Seth Rollins and Oba Femi did something in that corridor that cannot be undone. Whether Gunther makes a full recovery and returns to the roster with vengeance in his eyes, or whether this is genuinely the beginning of the end of his time at the top, the WWE landscape has been altered. The power has shifted. An alliance has been forged in the fire of a real backstage moment, and whoever runs this company better figure out very quickly how they're going to handle it. Because the locker room is watching. The talent is watching. And most importantly, you are watching. Drop a comment right now. Tell me, was Gunther asking for this? Was Seth justified? And is Oba Femi about to become the most dangerous man on the entire WWE roster? Share this video. Your friends need to know about this. And if you haven't subscribed to Ring Rumble 1 yet, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, because when the next chapter of this story breaks, you're going to want to be the first one to know.